Hey guys, this is What If Deku Was the Lizard Part 2. Now this one subscriber I have was like begging me for this, and I'm not finna talk trash about him because like he's like a day one. He's just been a long time subscriber. So shout out to him. Maybe my editing self, or either in the comments I will highlight his comment if he comments on this video, and please do, man, because you're a real one. But let's dive right into this what if. Last time I left off, Deku went back home after flirting with Froppy a little bit and getting her number. As we're gonna have Deku like go back and forth, like maybe some cheating might happen. I don't know, maybe like some let's just say like fighting over Deku might happen. I don't know for certain, but Deku and Froppy at the end of the story, or the end of the whole climax of the story, they are going to be together. Now, last time I left off, Deku went back home, and if you haven't watched part 1 to get kept up about how Oscorp and other characters fit into the story, just go watch that. Now, Deku would have gone to school the next day, going into class, as he would have sat down in class, as All Might later on in the day would have busted through the door, as basically he would have explained to the class that they're doing combat training, and that they get their suits ready, and that they're going outside or going to the fake city to train and get their skills honed, as they were given their hero costumes by their hero organizations they signed up for, or the hero costumes they made. As Deku's hero costume is more of a skin tight type material. His hero costume is more of a, I guess, mixture of sorts. So basically, my first iteration for his hero costume is either going to be like a skin type, like suit that would cover up his genitalia, and basically make his body like smooth and just scaly all over, so he could just go around nude without showing anything. And that would be his hero costume, just his lizard scales. But that was Deku's first iteration of his hero costume wanting to be. But then he thought closer about it, and he wanted to be more practical. Even though Deku did have regeneration abilities and was very tough-skinned, and also was very durable for his ability of being, well, a mutated giant lizard with incredible poisonous abilities. Basically, he wanted his power to be more effective, but also the fact is he still feels pain very easily. So he wanted to show as much skin as possible so it would be easier for him to camouflage. So Deku switched to a combat pair of basically black or purple jeans. Basically, it's the same outfit Deku has, or the lizard has. So it's basically a white combat bulletproof type vest, or like a skin type, like Under Armour type shirt with a type of, I guess, lizard logo on the back, or a claw, 3-fingered claw logo on the back and chest, as it also has pretty much skin tight, not skin tight, but basically, Lizard always in the comics has purple pants, basically the purple pants but without the rip. So it's neat purple pants that fit Deku and don't rip, or are not ripped. So it's kind of like that, but Deku, majority of the time when he fights, most likely the top half is going to be on. So just imagine Deku in his lizard form with just the purple pants on. So Deku's hero costume was the purple pants, and the purple pants were probably were made out of a super flexible fabric with a hole in the back for his tail, and also were incredibly durable, and also were fireproof as well, and were as durable as Deku's body as whole. So they would barely get ripped or scratched or scraped or burned or charred or anything like that. So Deku's majority of the time, just imagine Deku with the purple shorts. Now, or purple pants. Now, Deku wouldn't wear any shoes or gloves or anything because he didn't really need them, because yet again, he's incredibly durable and fast, and he also can regenerate, so he didn't really need anything of the sort like that. And Deku, majority of the time, and Deku never wears shoes, to be honest with you guys. Deku will never wear shoes a day in the whole story because, well, if you've seen the lizard's feet in comics and movies, he doesn't need shoes. And I'm pretty sure no shoe company makes shoes that big. Maybe in the quirk world, because people have quirks that make their feet bigger, but in this canon, Deku doesn't wear any shoes because of his quirk. So we see that Deku is walking around after putting on his hero costume. People think it's pretty tactical, and some people think it's pretty cool about the logo on his chest with the with the scratch logo on his chest, as Deku's kind of, proud about it. As people are starting to talk a little bit, as eventually Azawa explains the thing about them. They're going to be grouped up into two groups pit against each other, villains and heroes. As they're told that either one person eliminates the other with a tape or other things like that. So the group starts and the team exercises, the fight, the combat training, it begins. As we start our story, we continue the story with Deku walking into the building teamed up with Ochaku. As Ochaku's internally still disgusted by Deku in some way or some regard because of his mutated lizard type dexterity, but this is the first time her seeing Deku without a shirt, and she thinks he's pretty jacked for a guy with a mutation core, because Deku is pretty big, very lizard-like, but Deku has like a six-pack. Like, bro, Deku is freaking shredded, but he's not super big to a point where he looks bulky and unaesthetic. He's like as big as Lizard in the comics. He's not super big, but yet again, he's still big and also athletic still. So he ain't like super buffy. He's kind of like Venom's type of stature. Venom ain't too buff in some comic panels, but he isn't too skinny to a point where he looks just like Spider-Man. So yeah. So Deku is in the hallway as he tells Ochaku to go upstairs to stall Ida as he goes and do his thing. As Ochaku says, no, I'm just going to do my own thing. You do you. As they split up without a plan, as she doesn't follow the plan and she starts to walk around trying to get to the bottom room before Deku, or try to bump into Bakugo, since she's a little bit more cocky in this continuity. As Deku, oh no, not cocky, but she doesn't really want to follow Deku's plan because she doesn't think he's smart. Because she thinks lesser than him. She thinks he's lesser than her. Basically, pissing off. I'm making Ochaku a total bitch in this can. So Deku sees her walk off, as Deku just scoffs at it, as he uses his extra senses to walk around the building, eventually hearing a pivot in the ground, or some sort of flux in the air. As Deku sprints off, as he crawls on the wall, scales across the building, and basically jumps through one of the windows, cracking on somebody's neck, as it's Ochaku, as he kicks Ochaku through a freaking wall. As Deku goes through the wall or the hole he kicked Ochaku through and says, "What the hell are you doing? I told you to go over the bottom room." As she says, I'm not listening to you." As she tries to yell at him and argue, as eventually they get, pretty much disrupted by Ida and Bakugo. As Bakugo convinces in this canon Ida to follow him as they go after Deku. As Ida thinks Deku is a bigger threat with his mutation quirk and how big and strong he is, and how he got a really flawless score in the combat training, and he was also as fast as Ida. So Ida and Bakugo team up, trying to use their quirk in sequence to take on Ochaku and Deku. As Deku thinks this is a big problem, as he assumed that Bakugo, since how brassy he is, after he did a little analysis on him and how he acted in class, he would assume that he would go after him alone, trying to prove a point. But he actually did something smart this time. As Bakugo rushes in before Ida can even react, the whole smart thing, I'm taking it back now. So Bakugo throws a huge explosion towards Deku, as Deku dodges it and throws a nasty left hook right into Bakugo's chest, pushing Bakugo through a roof, as Bakugo is on the other building level, as Deku jumps through the hole that he punched Bakugo through. As Ida looks at Ochaku as they start to fight. As they have to scrap a little bit, Ochaku tries to touch Ida and make him float, but Ida's dodging and weaving and punching, kicking. Eventually, we see Ida try to get away from the fight, as he starts to weave and more and more. As we switch away from that fight, it's not really going anywhere, since Ida's winning by a landslide in this hand-to-hand combat type fight. As we switch to Deku fighting Bakugo, as Deku's starting to lose a little bit, as Bakugo's using a lot of his power and bombarding Deku with explosions for the head and the torso and body shots, since Deku's a pretty big target. But Deku, yet again, is very athletic, so he starts to dodge Bakugo's explosions and punches faster and faster, eventually moving too fast for Bakugo to comprehend. As Bakugo starts to panic, throwing explosions in every inch of his body, as he starts to get lucky and starting to hit Deku upside the forehead, the back of the legs, and overall his forearms and shoulders. And eventually Deku falls onto the ground and getting really pissed off, as in one quick second Deku loses his temper, punching Bakugo dead in his chest as it almost shatters Bakugo's ribs. as Bakugo gets pushed through another freaking wall, as Bakugo gets back up, coughing up a lot of blood. As Bakugo starts to have a little bit of internal bleeding. Sorry. As he pulls his gauntlets, as he releases a huge explosion by pulling them both at the same time. As it almost breaks Bakugo's arms, but it pushes Deku so far with the explosion, and it makes a direct hit on Deku as Deku gets pushed through pillar after pillar after pillar, eventually falling through a couple buildings and overall being pushed out of the building by the side of a wall. As Deku starts to fall down to the ground, as Deku uses his tail to the latch on top of a rusty, pretty much pipe wire or pipe that's pulling or pointing out of the building. As Deku catches himself narrowly, as Deku gets out. As Deku runs up the stairs, running, eventually trying to get to the bomb room before anybody else. As Deku eventually is so close to the bomb room, clicks on the door and is about to get it, as he sees that Ochaku is apprehended and taped down to a pillar. As Deku gets real pissed off and says, "What the hell were you thinking, Ochaku?" As he's pissed off at Ochaku and thinks it for less. And I honestly think it for less. As Deku looks around and gets into a fighting stance, getting squared up, as Bakugo and Ida try to double tag him, bro. As they pretty much rush at him at the same speed right at him. As Bakugo is kind of still injured, but he throws another explosion with all of his might. As Deku dodges it, grabs Bakugo's wrist, and throws him through about 4 pillars, knocking him out cold. As Deku also does a pretty much duck weave against, well, pretty much this nobody weirdo bug bones. I mean, I freaking hated Ida for the main fact that Ida thinks he's like the best. Because nigga, get the fuck out of my face with that bullshit, bro. Like dead ass. Like, bro, what are you doing? But basically, he looks dead at him. They make complete eye contact. And Deku pulls out a whole freaking little Mac, like straight up. I mean, like, he pulls a little Mac. Like Leon, like, bro, he pulls a whole boxing move, uppercut. He pulls a whole Adam and Real Steel. He does a mean uppercut right in Ida's face as Ida makes complete eye contact with this dude. As Deku pulls out some premium boxing methods as he punches the absolute snot, soul, essence, everything out of Ida. As Ida's knocked out like a light. He's out like a light, bro. Snuffed like a freaking water on top of flame, bro. He's gone. He is gone. He's in the shadow realm. He got sent to the gulag, bro. Mans is gone. So after that, Deku, the hero team wins. As Deku was crowned the MVP of the match, since he did end off the match pretty fast, but Deku did almost narrowly die since he did almost fall out the building. Now, basically, we see that Deku is, given a little bit of pointers by some class members as Deku sees Ochaku's match. As Ochaku tries a little harder in this match since he tries to impress Deku, as she knows that Deku's watching her. As after this, Deku walks home as he bumps into Froppy actually. As he starts to talk to Froppy a little bit, as he starts to talk in front a little bit, as eventually he walks her home. As Deku walks back to his house, as he walks up the stairs into his house, and basically he gets a call from his mom that he needs his help at Oscorp, as something's going down. As he hears screaming and gunshots in the background, Deku gets up as fast as possible and starts to run down the building, and eventually gets on his way and gets on top of his motorcycle. As Deku's house, Deku's in a very rich family. At one point, Deku would want to get some vehicles, so Deku gets onto a motorcycle, and I'll leave it off here, guys. So yeah, cliffhanger, because I know people like this what if, and I'm gonna start adding a lot more cliffhangers to my what ifs, a little bit more. I don't like when what ifers leave off a huge cliffhanger and then forget about the what if like for years, unless someone brings it up. You guys gotta start communicating or commenting more if you really want me to continue certain stories or reboot them or continue them longer. So please, guys, please go to my old videos. If you want a remake, just say so, and you'll be having it. Just say so, guys. Just say so. Please. I need communication. Just comment more, guys. I love reading all your comments. And if I don't read your comment, I'm either dead, because I read almost every comment I get on my YouTube page. So if you guys enjoy the video, please like and subscribe. And as always, guys, have a blessed day. Tune in for part 3 to see what happens for the rest of the story. See you guys later. Bye. Deuces.